Today I'm going to show you how to set up ChatGPT in your Airtable base without needing access to Airtable AI. Then I'll walk you through two examples of ways to use ChatGPT in Airtable. Now, you'll probably want to use ChatGPT for something slightly different than the exact examples I'm showing here, but that's okay. By the end of this tutorial, you'll have all the resources necessary to use it in virtually any way you would like within your Airtable base. These are just two simplified examples of how we at the DealOps Automation team have helped our clients use ChatGPT on their own Airtable bases. For the first example, we'll use ChatGPT to summarize meeting notes into an easy-to-read executive summary with bullet points. Here's how it will work when we're all done. You can see in this example that I have a table where I keep all of my company's meeting notes. But let's say that I want to take these notes and condense them into just 3 or 4 bullet points. And the way that I do that is by checking this checkbox. And we'll see that after just a few seconds, ChatGPT fills in that succinct bullet-pointed summary into this executive summary field. Now, these look great, but maybe I want them to be even shorter. I can easily make adjustments to the behavior by going over here and changing my prompt. And I'll go ahead and ask ChatGPT to be a little bit more succinct. And then I'll go ahead and rerun this to regenerate that executive summary. And we'll see that this new executive summary has much shorter bullet points. So we can easily tweak the prompts that we send to ChatGPT here to make it behave the way that we want. Now let's look at the second use case. For this, you can see that I have a table with different expense reports filed by employees. And I'm going to ask ChatGPT to provide me with 2 things for each of these. First, a suspicion score ranging from 1 for not suspicious at all to 10 for extremely suspicious, followed by a 1-sentence justification for the rating that it provided. And again, in this case, all I need to do is check this box for each row that I want to run. And after a few seconds, we'll see ChatGPT start to fill in its guesses in this column. Now, these ratings look pretty reasonable to me. $55 Uber is pretty normal. A $25 gift for a client seems pretty normal. But 2 of these got flagged by ChatGPT. A $985 lunch for 2 and a personal trip to Cancun. That makes a lot of sense. But I know that this expense, the lunch for 2 people, was actually just a typo, and this was actually a lunch for 20 people. In that case, I can always override this input from ChatGPT with my own answer. And this brings me to one more important point that I want to mention. Whenever you're filling out data in a table from an AI product like ChatGPT, it's a good idea to somehow indicate in that information that it has been generated by a computer. And the way I like to do this is by prepending a robot emoji at the beginning of the text that I insert here. And that way, anytime that somebody comes in and overwrites this, it's very easy to see what has been generated by a person and what has been generated by a computer. Okay, now that we know what we're building, let's go ahead and set this up from scratch in a brand new base. Let's first set up our OpenAI account so that we can use ChatGPT in Airtable. You'll need to create an account, verify your email and phone number, and then add a billing method to your OpenAI account. Don't worry, the ChatGPT API is extremely cheap. I used it to summarize meeting notes for 100 meetings, and it cost me a total of 5 cents. So it's safe to say that it's probably in the budget. Now, go to your account in the top right and click Manage Account. Then on the left-hand side, go to Billing and add a payment method. And then you'll need to go to API Keys, create a new API key, give it a name, and click Create Secret Key. Now, when you create the secret key, copy it and save it somewhere that you'll be able to get back to it later in this tutorial. And now that our OpenAI account is set up, let's go back to Airtable. So here we are in a new base, and I'm going to start by creating a meeting notes table. Now I'll set up 5 fields for this table. One is the raw meeting notes that I want ChatGPT to summarize. Then another long text field where we'll store ChatGPT's summary. And I'm going to enable rich formatting. Then we'll store the date of the meeting, the checkbox that we'll use to kick off the automation, and finally a formula field for the prompt that we'll be using to tell ChatGPT what to do. So here's the prompt that I'm going to use with ChatGPT to generate the meeting notes summary. It consists of 2 parts, the instructions for ChatGPT, followed by the notes that I want ChatGPT to summarize. Let's turn this into an Airtable formula. I'm going to first copy this first part and put it into a formula in quotes. Then after this part, I want to append the notes that ChatGPT is going to summarize. To do this, I can add an ampersand. Ampersand just combines multiple strings together, and then I will type raw notes. So now we have our prompt formula set up. Let's go ahead and fill out a row here so that we can take a look at what the prompt actually looks like. This looks right, but there's one problem here. I would like to have a new line character between this part where I'm telling ChatGPT what to do and where the notes actually start. So let's go ahead and do that. To represent a new line in an Airtable formula, what you can't do is hit enter here and have that work as a new line. Instead, what you need to do is do \n. Now let's take a look. There it is. We have a new line. Let's do 2 new lines just so it's really clear. All right, this is a lot better. I think this will work great for ChatGPT. Now let's go ahead and set up the automation that will actually allow us to generate these summaries from ChatGPT. Now let's go to the automations panel. Now for this automation, the logic is going to be as follows. When the generate ChatGPT summary box gets checked, we first tell ChatGPT to give us a summary of the notes, then save that summary from ChatGPT into the Airtable record. So for the trigger, I'm going to choose when record matches conditions, and the condition is when this checkbox gets checked. Now it's time to test the trigger, but first we need to make sure that we have a record that matches this condition already. So let's go back to the Data tab and check this box. Then back to Automations and click Choose Record. Here we go. And now our trigger is done. Let's go on and set up the actions. The first action is the one that talks to ChatGPT and fetches the summary. So we'll just choose the ChatGPT action. Uh-oh, it looks like there is no ChatGPT action. Lucky for you, the DealOps automation team has you covered. We've created our own ChatGPT action, and I'm going to show you how to use it for free. First, select Run Script as the action. Then, go to the description of this video and open the link. Copy the code, and go back to the automation. Delete the code that's pre-populated, and paste in our code. Next, remember the API key that you saved in the earlier part of this tutorial? Go ahead and grab that. Go to the first line of this code where it says paste your API key here and replace that with your API key. Make sure to leave the quotes before and after. Now your code should look something like this with your API key in between the quotation marks on this first line. Now we're almost done. The one more thing that you need to do is click Add Input Variable. For the name, just type the letter A, lowercase with no spaces. And for value, select the value that you want to be the prompt that gets sent to ChatGPT. I'm going to go ahead and choose our formula field called ChatGPT Summary Prompt. Now the last thing you need to do is click this test button. It'll take a few seconds, and if everything works right, then you should see something like this. Script input should be the prompt that you sent in, and script output should be the answer that ChatGPT gave us. This looks good to me, so we're done with this step. If you run into any problems here, you can skip forward to some troubleshooting instructions that I offer later in this tutorial. Go ahead and click Finish Editing, and now we have a working ChatGPT action. All that we need to do is take the value that gets returned from this action and save it into the record. For this, we're going to configure an update record action. We'll choose the meeting notes table, and the record ID that we want to save this into is the record ID that kicked off the automation. So we'll click here, and then we'll click Airtable record ID. Now the field that we want to set is the executive summary. Now remember, I like to put a robot emoji before anything that gets inserted by AI. So I'm going to go ahead and put a robot emoji here, followed by a new line, Then I'm going to click the plus and choose the script. Now from the script, I want to save the response. The one other thing I want to do is I want to clear the checkbox on this record. Now let's go ahead and test this step. This looks right to me. So now we have a working automation to generate a summary and save it into this record. Let's go ahead and test the whole thing. Don't forget to turn your automation on. Then navigate back to data, and I'm going to go ahead and uncheck this box, and now I'm going to check it, and that should trigger the automation. Give it a few seconds, and this executive summary should get populated. There it is. Let's take a look at the summary here. This looks exactly like what I wanted. Now that we have one automation set up using ChatGPT, let me show you how easy it is to set up more. Let's configure the other ChatGPT automation to look at expense reports. We'll start by configuring the expenses table. I'll go ahead and fast forward through this since it's very similar to what we've already done. Now we have most of the fields set up. The only one that I want to talk about is the prompt formula field. First, let me show you the prompt that I'm going to use. You can take a closer look at it here, but it's similar to the one that we had before. I have some text at the beginning that's always the same. Then I have the description that the person entered for the expense, then a new line and a label for the amount, and then the amount. I'm going to go ahead and copy this into the formula field. Now let's fill in a dummy row. And the last thing I'm going to do is I like to make this primary field a formula that's useful. Now watch how easy it is to set up this automation. First, I'll duplicate the automation that we already made. Then I'll update the trigger to look at the expenses table, and then fix the conditions. Now for the script, I just need to change the prompt that I send in. I'm going to set it to the prompt that we just configured in the expenses table. And I don't need to change any of the code. Now last thing, we'll fix this update record action. We want it to look at the expenses table. It's already correct here. We want to pull the Airtable record ID from the trigger. And then we'll go ahead and fix the fields that are getting updated. In order to use the output of a script, we need to first test the trigger and the script action. So let's make sure that we have a record to test against. And then let's test. There we have it. This looks great. So the response that we got from ChatGPT for our test record said this is a normal expense as it relates to transportation for a business meeting. That is perfect. Now let's update our suspicion score and justification field with the output from that script and clear the checkbox. This looks great. I'm going to turn the automation on and let's test it. I'll uncheck this, check it, wait a few seconds, and there we are. Everything works correctly. So hopefully now this gives you some ideas and you understand how easy it is to reuse this automation to use ChatGPT for whatever you want. If you do run into issues with this automation, here's some suggestions on things to look at. First, go to the automation and select its run history. If you don't see anything here, then that means that most likely your automation was not on. Make sure that the automation is on by clicking this toggle in the upper left-hand side. If your automation is on, then you most likely have a problem with your trigger. Go back to the portion of the video where we configure this trigger and make sure that yours is set up correctly. If you do see a run, but it failed, go ahead and click into the failed run. Then click into the step that failed. Now, where it says execution log, click View. If you scroll down, you should see something here. Some common errors that you might see are script exceeded execution time limit of 30 seconds. This is more likely to happen when you kick off many of these automations in a very short period of time. Go ahead and retry the run and everything should be fine. If it happens often, it could be that you're asking ChatGPT to do too much and it's taking too long to respond. You may need to either use a faster model like ChatGPT 3.5 Turbo or simplify the prompt that you are sending to ChatGPT. Another thing you might see is this type error. If you see this, then go ahead and click into the object that I'm clicking into here on the screen and take a look at this error message. The most likely thing if you see this error message is that your OpenAI account doesn't have any credit. Go ahead and fix that now. And the one other thing that you may see in here is this code 502 message bad gateway. This usually means that OpenAI had an error, and it's extremely rare. Just rerun the automation in this case and everything should work fine. If none of these troubleshooting steps helped, then feel free to leave a comment and we'll do our best to respond and help you. And if that doesn't work, you can always schedule a free intro session with the DealOps automation team. I hope this tutorial was helpful for you, and I hope that you're now very comfortable using ChatGPT in your Airtable base. How do you plan to use ChatGPT in your Airtable base? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell for more detailed walkthroughs like this one. And if you're interested in taking your business's automation to the next level, come schedule a free session with our team of automation experts at dealopsautomation.com/free session. We're founded by ex-Airtable employees who've spent years deep in the heart of the automation movement, and we help our clients automate their operations in real estate, business operations, RevOps, and more. On top of that, we know code. Our extensive experience as software engineers empowers our clients to work past many of the limitations that are inherent to existing no-code tools, because we can deliver a higher level of customization by writing custom code when necessary. Thanks again for watching this video, and we'll see you next time.